All
Great.
right. Hey, everybody. This is Valerie Saunders. Welcome to another episode of Val's Vibe. Today, I am very honored to have on the president of the National Association of Mortgage Brokers, Jim Nabors. This is actually Jim's second time as president. And he is going to talk about our upcoming legislative conference, which is April 1st and 2nd in Washington, D.C. So welcome, Jim.
Thanks, Valerie. Appreciate the invite.
You're welcome. So I know we've been working really hard on our conference and we've got a lot of amazing speakers. What can people kind of expect if they're attending or contemplating attending?
This is going to be our best event, and we've had in the last couple of years a great event. This is going to be the best one, maybe in the last 10 years. When we look
Awesome.
at our speakers, if nothing else, just our speakers, we've moved back to Tuesday, having the conference on Tuesday, which is April 1st, April Fool's Day, and then going to the Hill on April 2nd. But, do you mind if I give you an idea of who we have speaking?
Oh, no, please do.
We're going to start out with John Bell, who's the executive director of loan guarantee services with the VA, because, VA is very important to us. For the first time ever, and I've been asking since 1995 to invite the White House, we are going to have Jordan Wood, who's the special assistant to the president for public engagement and business liaison, is coming to speak with us.
Wow.
You can't beat that. If that was just it, I'd be going, that's enough. But, it even gets better. Insurance is playing a huge part. Last year we had Representative Emanuel Cleaver. He's coming back to talk more about it because insurance has gotten to be even a bigger issue for us. And then, of course, Ritchie Torres, who had the trigger leads bill for us in the House, he's coming back. And he's going to be followed by Senator Jack Reed, who got it unanimously passed at the end of the last session through the Senate. And will be handling the trigger leads bill in the Senate again this year. And I think that's a great start.
Yeah.
Then, of course, we're all concerned about what's going on, trigger leads, the cost of credit. We have Eric Ellman, the president of the National Credit Reporting Association. He's coming to talk to us. And then we have Mark, I always pronounce his name wrong, Calabria, who's not only with the CFPB, but with the Office of Budget and Management. He's coming to speak with us. And then my personal favorite, just because he's from Ohio, is, Representative Davidson, who happens to be on financial institutions, the chairman of the housing subcommittee. That's not bad.
No.
That is a full schedule. And I'm just excited about that. There is something for everyone here. You want to talk about trigger leads? Fine. You want to talk about affordable housing? There. You want to talk about the cost of credit bureaus? It's there. You want to talk about VA? It's going to be there. I know everybody's concerned about what's going on in the VA. That's going to be great. Wanting to know what's going on with the CFPB. We got that. So we pretty much have covered every topic that mortgage brokers are most concerned with today. And, I don't know of any other association, if you're a member, you can attend their legislative conference for free.
Very true.
And yet we reach out to make this affordable so that more people will attend. And I just think this is going to be a great event. I mean, we've had great events in the past. We've in the last couple of years, and like I joined in '94. One year I thought we were getting Vice President Gore because she showed up, but it turns out the next ballroom over had the beer distributors, and he went and talked to the beer guys instead of us. And
Well,
I don't blame
he's no
him.
fool.
I would have given the choice, beer brokers. I would have went with the beer too. But I think this is going to be one of our best conferences. Our numbers are up on people that are attending. We switched to a new location. that a brand new hotel. So we're just really excited about it.
Yeah, I agree. I know last year Representative Cleaver and Representative Davidson were there. They were both amazing speakers. They were willing to answer questions, very open. They were two very dynamic speakers. I too am excited to hear from the White House. It's always interesting to get that kind of a perspective. And and I know this is April 1, so if you're listening to this and you happen to be in the Washington, D.C. area or Pennsylvania or Virginia and you just want to come for the day, we have breakfast. I know we have lunch. We're having a reception that evening also. And we have a lot of states that are in attendance. Maybe tell us a little bit about who is going to be there just in the audience and who they can kind of communicate with and network with.
Well, you have the entire NAMB board, and we're trying to recruit as many people on the committees, because we're trying to expand the board. We're trying to get younger blood on the board. And the easiest way to do that is to get involved in a committee, whatever interests you, whether it's communications, membership, technology. We now have brand new, we're introducing the Young Professionals Committee for people 35 and younger. And so the opportunities to get involved. And then, of course, I just think just networking with people from other states to find out what's going on in your state. It is kind of, this conference is our government affairs, our legislative conference. But the opportunity to talk to somebody about technology or social media, those opportunities are still available to you by just the people that are going to be there.
Right, right. Yeah, I always think it's good to have the opportunity. We do so much Zoom that, to have an opportunity to talk to somebody face to face and kind of see what kind of synergies where maybe both of our states are experiencing similar things. I know Utah passed a trigger leads bill recently. I think California might have that as some pending legislation. I know some other states have discussed it. So I think it's just a good opportunity to see, what other people in your industry are thinking and be able to actually have a real conversation.
And it also gives you a great opportunity. Say you're from Pennsylvania, or you're, from South Carolina or West Virginia or wherever that doesn't have a state association, but you'd be interested in trying to put one together. People always ask me, how many people do I need to start an association? I said, well, you and 3 of your friends, you got 4 people, you go from there. And that's how we started in Ohio back in 1989. Just a couple of us got together and decided, okay, this was something we're going to do. Not everybody's going to start. You can't expect you're going to have, 100 members or 1,000 members. But, again, the opportunity to talk to you, to talk to our other staffers that are going to be there and say, hey, look, how do I do this? Talk to our membership chair, or, hey, I've been sitting through some of these webinars from your industry partners or your strategic alliances. How do I get more involved in that? It's just, so even though it's geared around these speakers, there's going to be plenty of time for you to network with just the other people in the industry and find out what are they doing that could maybe help you do better.
Right. And if they're sticking around to Wednesday, April 2nd, what's going to happen on that day?
April 2nd, our plan is for people to go to Hill and meet with the congressman that we didn't get, because there are 435 congressmen and senators. So we couldn't get them all in on our schedule at this time. So you can either make an appointment, call and make an appointment, or you can just drop in. And we will have, packets that put together to cover all our talking points, whether it's trigger leads, flood insurance, Gold Star families, so any of the points that you could use as a point of reference on, okay, here's what I'd like to talk to you about. And it's very professionally done. And I walked in, it was the first time I walked in and I didn't know I needed an appointment. And I walked in and, I was my first ever, and I walked into and ended up getting to talk to the congressman. And then years later, I would just show up at his office and I spent more time talking to him about education because my wife was a teacher than I did about mortgage broker issues. But he had bought into that we were developing a relationship. And they are interested in particularly you talking to, they like to hear from their constituents, which is why we say, hey, stick with your, somebody from California probably shouldn't walk into a senator from Ohio's office unless it's an election year for president and maybe they have an interest in being the next vice president. You never know. But, that's how we in Ohio developed a relationship with Vice President Vance. Just initially walked in when he became a senator. You just never know where that's going to go. And our guys in Columbus have continued to build a relationship, not so much with him, but with his staff.
Right.
And that's, I think, the other thing people say, well, I couldn't see the congressman, I had to see the staffer. That's good, because the staffers are the one that, gather all the information and, will give you the most time. And then from there, pass it on to their boss. And that's definitely a positive for us.
Yeah, no, I agree. I that is one of the things I always enjoy is being able to go to the Capitol buildings. I've even gotten lucky enough to, one of my state senators gave us passes to go sit in one of the galleries and listen to some hearings, which is definitely also a unique experience of just seeing how all the votes happen and just how the legislative process occurs. So
yeah, and you're in Washington, D.C., the government's still open, so you get the opportunity, you take some extra time and you go see the Washington Monument, you go see the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, you go see naturally the Lincoln Memorial. But at the same time, I've now eaten at the Longworth in the House office building cafeteria at least 15 times. They also have
which is really good.
It's very good food and very inexpensive.
Yes, yes.
Somebody's subsidizing that. I don't know who, but I mean, there's just so much. There's something for everybody. So, and we're hoping, we realize this is the last minute. You're hearing about this at the last minute, but there's just so much we have to offer you. And all you have to do is be a member and you can come for free. So we hope you will. So
kind of putting a bow on this, wrap it up. Is there anything that you would like, if you had to tell somebody about NAMB, just your experience and why they should get involved and, whether they take that first step and become a member or they join a committee, or maybe eventually, if they're interested, move on to serving on the board. What is it that you would tell them?
Well, I joined NAMB originally for protection. I was concerned that I might be regulated or legislated out of business when they were looking at putting a 1% fee cap on what a broker could make. Again, this was in the 80s and we were making 5, 6, 7 points. But then it became so much more once you were in it. I am not a technology person, probably the worst technology person, but to learn how to use technology. And now the coming thing is social media, learning how to develop more business. That's what it's all about. And I think that's going to be a continued emphasis. We are working to make sure that our industry exists. And that's what our GA conference is for. But if you're joining NAMB, no longer are you joining for protection. You're joining to learn, okay, how do I develop more business? What are the steps I need to do? What am I missing? And things have changed from a long time ago when, you just made cold calls or you went to realtors' offices and you developed contacts there. With the use of social media, and NAMB is big in it, is going to be the lifeblood of this association for the next 10 years. But, it's come so far. We actually had a session back in the early 2000s or, 1990s. We taught people how to use email because nobody had ever used email before. And we assigned everybody an AOL.com email address. And it sounds funny now, but back then we had people that were fighting with us that they didn't think email was ever going to work. So
it's a fad.
Yeah, but it's just, that was before cell phones. But it was just kind of interesting how the industry has grown. And NAMB has been there at the front of it to say, okay, here's what you need to do. And then again, you talked earlier about the other people that are attending. They may be a social media expert that you're following on TikTok or Instagram or Twitter or, even Facebook or LinkedIn, that you want to make those arrangements with, those connections with. So that's the great thing about our conference. It attracts all types of people from all different types of lives and all different specialties in the business, whether they're a broker or whether they're a banker or whether they're just, they're a mortgage loan originator. There's something there for everybody. And you should come take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is funny to just think 20 years ago, email, the internet, just being able to take online loan applications, all of those things were in its infancy. And I mean, my God, it's like light years ahead of that.
Well, I remember when I first started in the business in 1976, the application was 1 page long. And then you would call the credit bureau and they would read you the credit bureau and you would write it down on the back of the application.
No Graham Leach Bliley back then.
Yeah, no Graham Leach Bliley, no credit scores, no FICO scores. So it was like you actually made a decision based on, there was no previous employers, previous addresses. It's where do you live now? Where do you work now? And where's the closest living relative, their contact information, so that if you don't pay, we know who to call. And that was it, But then again, the average loan might be $30,000 or $40,000 because houses were a little cheaper. But the business has grown and we've grown with it. And I think that's the one thing. NAMB is now in its 51st year.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's what happened 51 years ago. We were a commercial association. We're now residential, although we still have commercial brokers that are members. But, but the one thing's never changed. How do we help you do better?
Right.
And if we do help you do better, then we've been successful. And if we do, shame on us. If we don't, shame on us.
Well, I think that's a great place to end this conversation. I really appreciate, Jim, you joining us. I'm sure this is not going to be the last time you are going to be on Val's Vibe. I do have.
I'm just excited that I finally was invited.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to have you. I'm glad you could take time out of your busy schedule and join me.
Anytime.
Awesome. So if you're in the DC, Virginia, Pennsylvania area and you want to just come over for the day on April 1st, please join us. If you're anywhere else in the country and you want to join for the entire event, it's March 31 to April 2nd at the Washington Marriott, Capitol Hill. We hope you'll be there, and we'll probably maybe we'll do another discussion the week after. We can kind of do a little wrap up and talk about our experience and how things went and kind of take it from there.
Sounds great.
Thanks so much, Jim. And I will see everybody on the next episode of Val's Vibe. Thanks. Have a great day.
Stay healthy.